This is the book of 2 Samuel. Israel's greatest king has been waiting in the wilderness, and now the throne is empty, the war is over, and everything is about to change. A breathless messenger arrives at Ziklag with torn clothes and dust on his face, claiming he killed Saul on the battlefield to end his suffering. Instead of rewarding the man, David tears his own garments in grief and executes him for raising his hand against God's anointed king. David pours his grief into a lament over Saul and Jonathan, crying out how the mighty have fallen. He orders it taught to all Judah, honoring the king who hunted him and the friend who loved him like his own soul. The men of Judah anoint David king at Hebron, but Saul's general Abner places Saul's son Ishbosheth on the throne over the northern tribes. Israel splits in two, and a long, grinding civil war begins between the house of Saul and the house of David. Abner breaks with Ishbosheth and sends word to David offering to deliver all Israel to him. But Joab ambushes and murders Abner in revenge for his fallen brother Asahel. David publicly mourns Abner, weeping at his tomb, and all the people see that the king had no part in Abner's death. All the tribes of Israel come to Hebron and anoint David king over all Israel. Then David marches on Jerusalem, held by the Jebusites who mock him from the walls, and captures the fortress of Zion, making it his capital, the city of David. David gathers 30,000 men to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. When a man named Uzzah reaches out to steady the Ark and God strikes him dead, David is terrified and leaves the Ark at the house of Obed-Edom for 3 months, then brings it up with joyful dancing and sacrifice. David tells the prophet Nathan he wants to build God a house, but God reverses the proposal entirely. God declares he will build David a house. His throne will endure forever, and one of his own sons will reign after him in an everlasting covenant. David extends his kingdom through relentless military campaigns, crushing Moab, defeating Hadadezer king of Zobah, destroying 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt, and subduing the Ammonites and Arameans. Israel's borders stretch wider than they ever have. David searches for any surviving member of Saul's household to honor his covenant with Jonathan. He finds Mephibosheth, Jonathan's crippled son, restores all of Saul's land to him, and brings him to Jerusalem to eat at the king's table every day for the rest of his life. In the spring, when kings go to war, David stays behind in Jerusalem. One evening he walks on his palace rooftop and sees a beautiful woman bathing. He sends for her, sleeps with her, and she becomes pregnant, and the woman is Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David sends Uriah back to the siege of Rabbah, carrying a sealed letter ordering Joab to place him at the hottest point of the battle and abandon him. Uriah is killed exactly as ordered. David takes Bathsheba as his wife, but the thing he has done is evil in the sight of the Lord. The prophet Nathan comes to David and tells a parable about a rich man who steals a poor man's only lamb. David burns with anger. Then Nathan points his finger and says, "You are the man." David breaks completely and confesses, "I have sinned against the Lord." David fasts and lies on the ground for 7 days, pleading with God as his infant son lies dying. When the child dies, David rises, washes, and eats, explaining that now he will go to the child, but the child cannot return. Bathsheba later bears a second son named Solomon, whom God loves. Nathan's prophecy begins to unfold. David's son Amnon violently assaults his half-sister Tamar. David is furious, but does nothing. 2 years later, Tamar's brother Absalom has Amnon killed at a sheep-shearing feast and flees into exile in Geshur for 3 years. Absalom returns to Jerusalem, but David refuses to see him for 2 more years. When they finally meet, there is no true reconciliation, only cold silence. Absalom begins holding court at the city gate, stealing the hearts of the people with flattery and secretly building toward rebellion. Absalom raises his rebellion in Hebron, and the conspiracy spreads like wildfire across Israel. David receives the news and flees Jerusalem in sandaled feet with his household. Weeping, head covered, walking barefoot up the Mount of Olives as the city he conquered abandons him. Absalom enters Jerusalem. David's spy, Hushai, successfully undermines the military council of Ahithophel, whose strategy would have destroyed David. Ahithophel, knowing the rebellion is now doomed, rides home to his city and hangs himself. David's army meets Absalom's forces in the forest of Ephraim. David commands his generals to deal gently with his son. The battle is fierce. 20,000 men fall. Absalom's mule runs under a great oak, and his head is caught in the branches. Joab finds him there and drives 3 spears through him. When a messenger tells David the battle is won, the king's first question is only, is the young man Absalom safe? When he hears his son is dead, David crumbles. Oh, my son Absalom, my son, would God I had died instead of you. Joab rebukes him sharply. Your weeping is shaming the men who save your life. David returns to Jerusalem and rebuilds his fractured kingdom. After a revolt by a man named Sheba, a plague killing 70,000 for David's unlawful census, and final campaigns against the Philistines, David's closing psalm thunders. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. His final words crown God as one who rules over men in righteousness. 2 Samuel reveals that God is a covenant-keeping God who remains faithful even when his chosen king is faithless. The throne of David does not stand because of David's merit, but because of God's unbreakable word. Every promise God makes to David about an eternal throne and an everlasting kingdom finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, the Son of David who reigns forever, whose kingdom has no end. No matter how badly you have failed, the God of David is the God of your story too. His covenant over your life is not canceled by your worst moment, and his mercy is greater than your greatest sin.